In the busy streets of Lagos, where yellow buses honked loudly and traders sold everything from roasted plantain to colorful fabrics, lived a grandmother named Mama Folake. But this was no ordinary grandmother. While other grandmothers her age walked slowly with walking sticks and complained about their aching bones, Mama Folake looked like she was only 25 years old. Her skin was smooth like a baby's bottom, her hair was long and shiny black, and her teeth were white as fresh coconut. People in the neighborhood often stopped and stared, wondering how this woman who had lived for 70 years could look so young and beautiful. The secret was terrible and wicked. Mama Folake was a witch who had learned dark magic from her great-grandmother many years ago. Every full moon, she would sneak out of her house on a coy street and look for young girls walking alone. She would follow them quietly like a cat hunting a mouse, and when they were not looking, she would steal their youth with her magic powers. The poor girls would suddenly feel very tired and weak. Their smooth skin would become wrinkled, their bright eyes would become dull, and their strong bodies would become bent like old women. They would go home confused and sad, not knowing what had happened to them. Meanwhile, Mama Folake would become younger and more beautiful, like a flower that had just bloomed. For 20 years, she had been doing this terrible thing. She had stolen youth from more than 50 young girls in Lagos. Some of these girls became sick and never got better. Others looked so old that their own families did not recognize them. But Mama Folake did not care. She only cared about staying young and beautiful forever. One hot Tuesday morning, as the sun was beating down on Lagos like an angry giant, Mama Folake was walking through the busy market at Balogun. She was wearing a beautiful blue dress and high heels that made clicking sounds on the ground. Men turned to look at her and women whispered to each other, "Who is this beautiful woman?" Mama Folake smiled proudly and swayed her hips as she walked. She was looking for her next victim. That's when she saw her, a young girl about 16 years old, carrying a basket of oranges on her head. The girl had skin that glowed like gold and eyes that sparkled like diamonds. She was the most beautiful girl Mama Folake had ever seen. "Perfect," Mama Folake whispered to herself, licking her lips like a hungry lion. "With her youth, I will be the most beautiful woman in all of Nigeria." The girl's name was Adoni, and she was not just any ordinary girl. She was the granddaughter of a very powerful medicine man from a small village in Osun State. Her grandfather had taught her many things about good magic and how to protect herself from evil people. He had also given her a special necklace made of cowrie shells and blessed beads that would protect her from witches and bad spirits. But Mama Folake did not know this. She saw only a beautiful young girl who would make her even more youthful and lovely. Mama Folake followed Adoni through the busy market, hiding behind stalls selling fish, yams, and colorful fabrics. She waited until Adoni walked into a quiet corner where she was selling her oranges to a few customers. When the customers left and Adoni was alone, Mama Folake moved closer. "Good afternoon, my dear," Mama Folake said with a sweet voice that sounded like honey. "Your oranges look very fresh and juicy. How much for 10 pieces? Adoni looked up and smiled. She was a kind girl who treated everyone with respect. "Good afternoon, sister. 10 oranges will cost you 200 naira. As Adoni bent down to pick the oranges, Mama Folake raised her hands and began to whisper the evil magic words she had used so many times before. Her eyes glowed red like fire, and dark smoke began to come out of her fingers. But something strange happened. Instead of Adoni becoming weak and old, nothing happened to her at all. She continued picking oranges as if everything was normal. Mama Folake was confused. Her magic had never failed before. She tried again, whispering louder and moving her hands in bigger circles. This time, something did happen, but not what she expected. The magic bounced back at her like a ball hitting a wall. Mama Folake felt a sharp pain in her chest and stumbled backward. Adonis stood up slowly and looked at Mama Folake with eyes that now glowed with a golden light. The cowrie shell necklace around her neck was shining brightly. "So, you are the wicked witch who has been stealing youth from young girls in Lagos," Adonis said in a voice that sounded much older and wiser than her 16 years. "My grandfather told me about you. He said one day you would try to steal from the wrong person." Mama Folake's mouth opened wide in shock. How did you know?" she stammered. "I can see the spirits of all the girls you have hurt," Adonis said, pointing around them. "They are standing here with us right now, crying for justice. Look." Mama Folake looked around and gasped in fear. She could see the ghostly figures of all the young girls she had stolen from over the years. They surrounded her in a circle, their faces sad and angry. Some looked like old women even though they were only teenagers. Others looked sick and weak. "We want our youth back," they all cried together. "Give us back what you stole. Please," Mama Folake begged, falling to her knees. "I'm sorry. I didn't mean to hurt anyone. I just wanted to stay young and beautiful." "You meant to hurt us," said one of the ghost girls. "You watched us become old and sick, and you did not care. You only cared about yourself." Adonis raised her hands, and the cowrie shells on her necklace began to glow even brighter. "The time has come for you to face the consequences of your wicked actions," she said. Suddenly, all the youth that Mama Folake had stolen over the years began to leave her body. It happened very fast, like air rushing out of a balloon. Her smooth skin became wrinkled and spotted. Her long black hair turned gray and fell out in clumps. Her straight back became bent like a question mark. Her white teeth became yellow and began to fall out one by one. But it did not stop there. Because she had stolen from so many girls, she became even older than she really was. She looked like she was 150 years old. Her beautiful blue dress became too big for her shrinking body and hung on her like a sack. "No, no, no!" Mama Folake cried, looking at her wrinkled hands. "This cannot be happening." The ghost girls began to smile as their youth returned to them. One by one, they became young and beautiful again. Their skin became smooth, their hair became shiny, and their bodies became strong. They looked at Mama Folake with pity in their eyes. "Now you know how we felt," one of them said. "Now you know what it's like to be old and weak when you should be young and strong." But Adonis was not finished. She whispered some more words in a language that sounded like wind blowing through trees. Suddenly, Mama Folake felt something strange happening to her feet. She looked down and screamed. Her feet were turning into the feet of a chicken. Yellow and scaly with long claws. The change moved up her legs, then to her body. Soon, she was turning into a big, ugly chicken with gray feathers and a crooked beak. "This is your punishment," Adonis said. "You will live as a chicken for 1 full year. You will eat worms and insects from the ground. You will lay eggs that people will cook and eat. You will know what it feels like to be helpless and afraid." But after 1 year, Adonis continued, "If you truly regret what you did and promise to use your remaining life to help others instead of hurting them, you will become human again. But you will stay old, and you will never be able to use magic to hurt anyone ever again." The chicken that was once Mama Folake could only make clucking sounds. She flapped her wings and tried to run away, but Adonis pointed at her again. "One more thing," Adonis said with a smile. "Every morning when you wake up, you will remember exactly what you did to all those girls. You will feel their pain and sadness. This will help you understand why what you did was so wrong. The chicken Mama Folake ran away, her claws scratching on the ground. People in the market stared in wonder as they saw a big grey chicken running past their stalls, clucking loudly like it was crying. From that day on, people in the neighborhood began to see a strange grey chicken wandering around the streets. The chicken would often sit quietly in corners, looking very sad. Sometimes, people could swear they saw tears in the chicken's eyes. The young girls who had been victims of Mama Folake's magic slowly got their youth back. Some took longer than others, but eventually, they all became young and beautiful again. They were so happy and grateful that they could not stop smiling for weeks. Adoni became famous throughout Lagos as the girl who defeated the wicked youth-stealing witch. But she was humble and kind. She used the magic her grandfather had taught her only to help people and protect them from evil. Every day, she would walk through the market and the streets, looking for people who needed help. She helped sick children get better, she helped lost people find their way home, and she protected other young girls from witches and bad spirits. As for the chicken that was once Mama Folake, it spent every day thinking about all the terrible things it had done. It remembered the faces of every girl it had hurt. It felt their sadness and pain as if it was its own. For the first time in many years, it understood how wrong it had been. The chicken tried to help other animals when it could. It would warn smaller birds when cats were coming to catch them. It would share food with hungry insects. It was not much, but it was a start. When the year was finally over, Adoni found the chicken sitting quietly under a mango tree, looking very sorry and sad. She could see that the chicken had truly learned its lesson. "Do you regret what you did?" Adoni asked. The chicken nodded its head and made soft, sad clucking sounds. "Will you promise to spend the rest of your life helping people instead of hurting them?" The chicken nodded again, more strongly this time. Adoni whispered the magic words, and slowly, the chicken began to change back into a human. But it was now a very old woman, as old as she really was supposed to be. Her back was bent, her hair was completely white, and her skin was wrinkled like a raisin. The old woman who was once the beautiful young-looking Mama Folake looked at her hands and began to cry. But these were not tears of sadness for losing her beauty. They were tears of shame for all the pain she had caused. "I'm so sorry," she whispered. "I'm so very sorry for everything I did." From that day on, the old woman spent her time helping others. She cooked food for hungry children, she took care of sick people, and she told everyone she met about the importance of being kind and good to others. She never tried to use magic again, and she never complained about being old. She had learned that true beauty comes from having a good heart and helping others, not from having smooth skin and shiny hair. And whenever young girls in Lagos heard this story, they learned to be careful of people who seemed too good to be true, and they always remembered that kindness and goodness were more important than beauty.